Trust me, I am no scientist, but the topic of brain research has fascinated me for years, especially brain research related to how humans acquire and process new information. In fact, over the last 30 years, research focusing on the specific neural pathways used for learning has fundamentally altered many of our assumptions about the optimal conditions for learning. While it would be easy to cite dozens of important, critical findings from this extensive body of research, an important synthesis of brain research, as it applies to learning, was created by educator Lee Oberparleiter. Through both an examination of an expansive body of literature on brain research and 35 years of public, private, and higher education instruction, Oberparleiter developed what he calls the 12 brain-compatible principles. Movement can play a direct role in 8 of those principles during a training experience. You might think of these 8 principles as non-negotiable brain facts that must be factored into every learning event to ensure a return on your training investment. Unfortunately, these simple principles are not used more consistently, mostly because neuroscience is a relatively new field and the information is simply not widely shared among teachers, trainers, and other learning professionals. And even if this information were widely distributed, it's just human nature to lean on what we know, the tried and true methods and models that we're comfortable using, mostly lecture and PowerPoint slides, as opposed to other methods that are still fairly new. That's unfortunate, because learners are not getting the full benefit from their training, and training professionals are missing the opportunity to demonstrate the value and potential of training to increase productivity and provide return on investment to their organizations. 8 brain principles you need to know. The 8 brain principles that follow are supported by research conducted over the past 3 decades. If you're interested in some of the supporting research, see the references provided in the companion PDF to this audiobook. For now, just focus on applying these discoveries about how our brains acquire and store information, so you will become a more effective and valuable learning professional. 1. Our brain is pre-programmed to notice novelty in the surrounding environment. Our brain is pre-programmed, as part of our brain's survival mode wiring, to notice changes and differences in the environment. At some point, learners will zone out as they search for this environmental variety. Participants begin scanning their surroundings for something more interesting to focus on, and as a result, one PowerPoint slide begins to look like the one before it. Once our brains switch to this survival mode tactic, anything not engaging, relevant, or meaningful to the task at hand, survival, is dismissed. That's why learners respond so well to novelty in their environment. Changing up the environment resets this innate scanning switch and allows for focused attention from your learners. 2. Learning and movement are innately connected in the human brain. Learning and movement are closely related. Just as the brain scans its surroundings for changes that indicate potential threats, our brain is pre-programmed to learn directly through the movement of our own body and through observation of other humans in motion. That's why learning new concepts and taking in new information through the use of our bodies is one of the most effective learning technologies available to trainers. It's all about implicit learning, learning by doing, feeling, or seeing, often on a subconscious level, the brain's preferred way to learn. Demonstration can also be an effective and related learning tool. We observe the movements required to produce a result or accomplish a task, and then simply mimic what we see. Despite the fact that most of us are efficient visual or kinesthetic learners, long-established learning conventions usually force us to learn through what we read and hear, that is, through traditional training methods. 3. Learning is enhanced when we connect and communicate with others. Early in the process of evolution, humans learned that group safety, comfort, and productivity is ensured by banding together in groups. In other words, humans are naturally drawn toward cooperation and collective learning. By managing this basic need for connection and community in your classroom, you'll increase the likelihood that more of the information you present will be stored in long-term memory and retained for later.